do business for the state of Texas. And we pray for everyone in the room's safe return. And in your name I pray, amen.
It is about 8 minutes after 10. I'd like to call the September 14th meeting of Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners to order. And Don, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Frank,
Here.
Mr. James Ainsworth,
Here.
Mr. Darren Black,
Here.
Mr. Milton Gutierrez, Mr. William Falk,
Here.
Mr. Thomas McDonald,
Here via Zoom.
Mr. Thomas Rice, Ms. Norma Yato, and Mr. Dave Yelovitz.
Present.
We have a forum.
Thank you. If I could get a motion from a board member, Mr. Gutierrez, Mr. Rice, Mr. Yato have all contacted me and all have got conflicts. And were unable to attend the meeting. If there is a motion to excuse their absence today, I would appreciate it.
James Ainsworth, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Ainsworth, second by Mr. Black. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item number 5. Has to do with, reports on our outreach. Since our last meeting, I've attended a couple of outreach sessions. APHCC was kind enough to invite us to speak and attend their annual convention in San Antonio. And Sydney and Steve and I went, Sydney from San Antonio, our investigator in San Antonio, and I went to the meeting, made remarks, excellent meeting and very well attended. We got some good feedback and from the group. Also, since this time, I attended a event in Taylor, Texas. And there's a gentleman named Sam Dowdy, and Sam has got a couple of plumbing companies in Taylor. And he has developed and put together a trade school, a U.S. Department of Labor approved trade school. And it's a little bit unique in that he has done so in coordination with and conjunction with 4 different school districts. So they are providing students who are current high school students to participate in the DOL training program. And they're going to use his facilities for the shop portion of the training, and then some of the school's facility for classroom training. So it's kind of goes hand in hand with our high school tradesman program, but it's going to go a step further because he's got a U.S. Department of Labor approved DOL program. So they'll go right out of high school into that DOL program and eventually become master plumbers after 5 years, I guess it is. So Sam's really worked hard in putting this together. The event we went to had the U.S. Department of Labor was there, the county judge, the superintendent of all the school districts, the principals, the CTE instructors. It was a big deal. There were probably 100 people from 4 different school districts attending. And Sam has really worked hard. He's really proud of it. He's always been big on getting young people into the industry. And I think he's going to be a source of a lot of new plumbers coming into the industry that are well trained. So also on the agenda has to do with Handshake for Heroes job fair. I didn't attend that.
I did.
Tell us about it, Lynn Latone.
In cooperation with the Texas Workforce Commission and the Texas Veterans Commission, they had their Handshake for Heroes job fair where various employers came in to introduce themselves and potentially recruit members of the military that were leaving the military or had left the military as part of their veteran support efforts. We attended and we got a few names. We didn't have anything result as a follow-up, but it was nice to meet people. It was nice to greet the veterans that we did talk to. It was also good to make connections with the Workforce Commission and the Veterans Commission and tell them that we are happy to participate in any future efforts. We want to support our veterans. We want to support our industry. So
Right.
We're gonna continue to make those efforts moving forward.
Where was that landed?
It's in Round Rock.
Around. How many attended?
Oh, gosh, how many employers or, it was two of our staff, me and our intern for the summer.
Mhm.
And, there were maybe 60 employers and I couldn't tell you how many attendees there were.
Well attended, it sounds like. That's great. And that, the only other issue having to do with outreach that I want to get some input from the board on. Remember last year, we did 13 town hall meetings all across the state. And we discontinued those after the first year for budgetary reasons, we run out of money, so. But now we're as of September 1st, we're into a new budget cycle, and we have our appropriations in place. Does the board feel that we should continue these town hall meetings across the state, or?
Definitely. I think they're great.
Okay. Bill, any?
They're the ones that can speak more intelligently to it. I think getting the word out is always important.
Dave or Ron, any thoughts? Justin or Ron?
Yeah,
Dave?
I agree. I think it's very beneficial to have those, and as long as we can, let's keep it up. And I agree with the group that I went to one or two of them, and it was fun just being able to sit around and chat.
We will, then I'm hearing a consensus that we want to do another round of those again, and I agree, by the way, I think they were really beneficial. They were as beneficial for me as they were for the industry, I think, but there are some things that I wanted to do this time that maybe refine them a little bit and get more staff participation than board participation. We did one in Fort Worth that Lisa attended. And it really went well because Lisa put on the screen our plumber's files. And as we got questions of how do you do this and how do you do that and where can you find this, Lisa was able to work through that on the screen. And that's something I can't do, but I'll tell you, they were very well received in the crowd, and I think it was really beneficial. So I think when we do this round of them, we're gonna have staff present to help individuals with individual problems, as well as talk nuts and bolts a little bit more than the big picture, which is what I did for the most part. We'll do the both, but I don't anticipate having any without a staff member there who's proficient in operating our system. To answer those specific questions. Kevin went to one in San Antonio, which was not only the most well-attended that we had of all of them, we had probably 100 or 150 people there. But it helped us because we announced to the crowd, if you've got an individual problem, it's not a general problem, but it's specific to you or your license, see Kevin after the meeting. And Kevin was set up after the meeting where he could respond and deal with those individual issues of people there. So, and that worked really well. The other thing that I want to do that we didn't do this time is to determine the legislator, both House member and Senate, who are in the district where we're going to have the meeting. So as we determine meeting locations, Lynn, we're going to be asking you to come up with the House members and the Senate, and let's extend an invitation to them to attend the meeting. So they can hear the complaints, they can hear the progress, and they can be more informed about our agency. So that's an addition that we will do. And also, I don't think it would hurt, since our high school program is something that's we're trying to get kicked off and get some momentum going, is that we invite this local school district CTE person to attend the meeting. So I want to get a little bit better in our invitation list outside the plumbing community, where we can try to get as much information out there and get as much feedback as we possibly can from different aspects. So I don't know where we'll start them. We went from El Paso to Abilene to Lubbock to Tyler to Waco, Dallas, Fort Worth, Corpus Christi. Yeah, Corpus, went to Arlington. So I'm assuming we're probably not necessarily in any particular order, but go back to those regions. I don't think there's any region of the state that we did not make it attainable for somebody to reach it if they chose to. I think we did 3 in Houston area. So anyway, if you've got any sites or recommendations that we do any different than what we did, please feed them to Lisa or Lynn or myself. And we will just, before our next board meeting, we'll come up with a proposed list of locations. It's always subject to modification. Anything else on the town halls that anyone has? All right, we had, from item number 5, we were planning to go to number 6. I'm gonna move the agenda around a little bit. We have, 4 of us that are present, 2 are on a Zoom call. And we have some action items that are gonna require a quorum. So I think I'm gonna move those items up on the agenda while we still have a good connection issue with, our board members that are on Zoom, and make sure that we've got the sufficient quorum to take those actions. So the first I'd like to do is move to item number 7. It's consideration of possible action to approve an increase in the executive director's annual salary. And you'll notice, board members, that I did not, agenda this for an executive session in private. I spoke to Lisa about this before we did our agenda, and she's okay with leaving this on the public agenda without executive session. And I'm okay with it. But with that being said, if any of the board members would prefer to do this in executive session, we can adjourn to executive session, but I'm okay with just pushing forward. If you recall, last May, we approved an increase for executive director, and we attempted to make it retroactive back to September the 1st. And the controller's office told us that that can't happen, and I found every trap that I knew to run to try to see if we could make that happen, and it didn't. So consequently, the intended increase was less than what the board had wanted to do, because we were not permitted to make it retroactive. But this year, the legislature has authorized an increase for the executive director to take that salary to $124,982. So a motion would be in order, unless there's any discussion, to move the executive director's salary to $124,982.
With an effective date of.
An effective date of September the 1st this year.
Ron Ainsworth, so moved.
Mr. Ainsworth moves. Is there a second?
Second, Bill.
Bill, clock seconds. Any further discussion or comment?
Not a problem going back to the first.
Not first. We can do it the 1st of this month, but we can't go back beyond this month, so. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, done deal. Congratulations, Lisa. The other item that is going to require a quorum to vote on it is item number 9. Discussion and possible action on the readoption, revision, or repeal of rule the 22 Administrative Code, Chapter 363 regarding examination registration as a result of the 4-year rule review conducted in accordance with government code. Lynn, would you kind of tell us why we're here? This for the board members, this is not something you're just seeing. It's something that we've been working on. We made the revisions. We posted on the Texas Register for 30 days, which was required. We got no comments. So now we have to come back and formally adopt it today. Lynn, what did I miss on that?
You did a great job. Again, This is a familiar action for you, in your board materials, the last page of the chart that shows all the rule efforts we've made over the last couple of years. You'll see that, we had posted Rule 363 for, readoption consideration under the provisions of section 2001-039 of the Texas Government Code. The government code requires that every 4 years, a state agency review its rules to determine if the reasons for having the rules continues to exist. That rule effort was posted in the register, no comment was received, and the board is being asked today to consider the readoption of chapter 363 in their entirety and in their current form, to conclude its 4-year rule review of chapter 363.
Is there a motion to adopt chapter 363 as proposed?
Darren Black makes motion to adopt the rules in chapter 363 in its entirety as written.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Ainsworth seconds. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
And may I have a motion to allow the board chair to sign the order on behalf of the board in its entirety?
So moved. Darren Black.
Mr. Black, second.
Ron Ainsworth, second.
Second. In favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and I believe those are the only two items that require that we have an agenda to vote on today. But you know, since we're talking about rules, Lynn, are you prepared to handle item number 8 right now?
I am.
Since we're talking about rules, why don't you kind of bring us up to date on item number 8, discussion report on rule efforts and posting in the Texas Register. Of particular interest, you should know that the one rule that, and I'm gonna let Lynn explain this, why this happened this way. We did not post the rule having to do with direct supervision when the others were posting.
No.
Let me finish.
Okay,
That rule was posted until the 8th of this month, I believe, on direct supervision.
let me explain the whole thing.
Explain that.
Okay,
But I want everyone to know there was no nefarious reason that we delayed posting that direct supervision rule. And I'm gonna let Lynn explain to you why it didn't get posted until September the 8th, because I caught her on the carpet, but I don't know why the heck it didn't happen. So Lynn, why don't you explain it to the whole group?
thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to bring y'all up to speed. To recap what happened in our last meeting and bring you to where we are right now. At the last meeting, the board reviewed a number of rule adoptions, and moved those forward, and they also considered, a change to one of those proposals. So last meeting, the board reviewed and adopted changes to 361.1, the definition for advisory committee, certificate of insurance, complaint, field representative, license, maintenance man, petitioner, plumber inspector, responsible master plumber, and they did away with 361.1 B. And then there were some other rules in 363 and then later in 361. What they also decided to do was amend the proposal that had been earlier published in the register on virtual supervision under 361.1 A18. So the board approved those adoptions, but it tabled virtual supervision, added more qualifying language, and said, we're going to repost that in the Texas Register for another 30 days of public comment. The register said, you can do the adoptions first, but you can't do the adoption and the amendment at the same time because it works on the same rule. So we published the adoptions that were approved, published them in the register, they have gone final, and after they have gone final, we can then touch that rule again. So the rule amendment, as it was proposed by the board on virtual supervision, has been published in the Texas Register for 30 days of public comment. It is on the register now. We will accept comment for it. And that leads me to some of the material you have in there. It is also published on our website in English and in Spanish. September 1st, a law went into effect that mandates that we put our proposed rules in Spanish on our website. So we've complied with that. So the rule that was discussed for amendment is on the register for amendment, for comment, and is published on our website if anybody wants to see it.
Anybody want to repeat that to me? The bottom
I
line.
think I got it.
All right.
Good. Well, I'll talk to you after the meeting. Maybe you can explain it to me. No, I actually do have it. But the point is, the rule having to do with virtual supervision is currently posted and it is open for comment now. So those of you who wish to comment on it now would be the appropriate time to make your written comments. So,
And I'd like to thank our staff that helped us translate that into Spanish to meet that new statutory requirement. They did a lot of good work, and we got that up timely, and we're happy to do so without spending any money on that part of the agency.
you know, what's neat is Ollie did that. And that's who we're thanking for the most
Ollie
part,
And Paul and Brian, our two former-
Spanish speaking.
But yeah,
We had received some criticism in the past before any of us got here about our Spanish translations being Castilian instead of conversational Spanish. And Ollie has got an app that she uses in her own personal studies that translates English to Spanish, which she used. Then she went through and proofed it herself, reading it in Spanish. And she gave it to Juan and also to Paul, who are Spanish speaking, they're employees of the agency. So we think that we've vetted it better this time. And it should be in conversational Spanish that people can read and understand. But still, we'll get some comments that this isn't right and that's not right, and we'll just fix it as we hear any comments coming back. But Lynn is correct. We are very thankful and appreciative of those staff employees who have done this translation and put in place a way to do it. So Lynn, thanks to you and to Ollie and the other employees that participated in it. So. Any other discussion on our rules or our translation before we move on? All right, let's go back now to the regular order, which is our executive director's report, having to do with agency activities. And just to let you know, it's 10:30 now. I anticipate this being a relatively short meeting, and maybe we'll be done by 12:30. So we'll take a break at some point, but hopefully we'll finish up the meeting before 1 o'clock today. So. Lisa, you got an awful lot to talk about.
I do.
You really do. And I'm gonna tell you, before we even get started, I already know what you're gonna say, and I am really proud of what you've done. So tell us what you've been doing.
Well, thank you for the salary increase first off. Gonna come in handy. But the most exciting thing that I've got to tell about is all of our personnel changes. And I have some of those exciting new people here I'd like to introduce you to. And I'm not gonna go in any particular order, but I'll start right down here. This is AJ. Stand up, AJ. AJ comes to us with good experience, and I think he'll do well in customer service. He was on the debate team in school, so I think he'll fit right in with being able to talk to the plumbers.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get him up and running on the phone. Bear in mind, they all started the 1st of September, so we've got a lot of training. Just the initial required training takes a little bit, but we're getting him into there. And he has good computer skills, and that's obvious already, so we're welcome, AJ.
And AJ, I wanna ask you a question. Is it okay if I use this chair?
I will grant permission. Yes.
Okay, someone sent me a photograph of him sitting in this chair with his seal. I didn't wanna be sitting in the wrong place. I wanna make sure it's all right with you that I sit up here today.
It's a very comfortable chair, but yeah.
Well, I hope you're comfortable where you're sitting.
We also have, and then let me back up, AJ is gonna get torn between 3 different departments, but it's all customer service, so I'll make sure that's clear. Next is Wendy, and Wendy is in the enforcement department. Wendy comes with a lot of organizational skills behind her, And she also has a can-do kind of attitude, and we've thrown her into a little bit of everything since she's been here. So we're really glad to have Wendy. Welcome, Wendy.
Welcome, Wendy.
Tania has finance background and she's working in the finance department. She'll be learning all of the accounting skills and working with Tyler and Kenneth. And so she already has some of that background, banking and that sort of thing. So she's joining our team and she'll be sitting in there in that area with these guys. So welcome, Tania.
I called her Tamika several times yesterday, and she was very gracious about it. Told me that there's no M in her name, it's Tania.
And I get called a lot of things too, frankly, after a while, you just have to blow it off, but, and we also have Chelsea. Chelsea comes to us with some, criminal education background that she's studied. And she's also going to be doing some part-time fingerprint review, application review, and she's going to have the inspector applications that are applying for, examination. She's gonna own those. So some of the special applications she's gonna be handling, and she is busy learning all the different codes and the different approvals and everything else, but she's jumped right in and done good. So welcome, Chelsea, glad to have you. But last but not least, we, by any means, today, we have Howard Anderson, and Howard is our newest examiner. You hear that? We have a new examiner. We have gone with 2 to 2.5 examiners for a long time now. And, so we roped him in, he signed on the dotted line, and he has just jumped right in and done really well. And he's got a lot of experience in different types of plumbing, and, he's already learning to grade the roughs, and I think we're gonna keep him. Welcome, Howard.
Welcome.
So we're real excited about that. We also have another person that's not here today that is gonna work part-time, and she's a retiree, and we talked her into coming back, and that's Thelma McFall. And, a lot of people know Thelma, and she won't be extremely visible, but I guarantee you the amount of work that Thelma can do part-time is incredible. And she's already trained, so it won't take her long to get up and running. What she's gonna be doing is gonna be a little bit different, but it's gonna take some heat off of, Tyler, and Tyler recently got promoted, in the finance department. And, so that's gonna allow him to do all the duties that, go with that promotion. You need to get something, you gotta give and take there. We also took Ollie and Gladys, who you met last time, moved their positions around, promoted them up a little bit. And, Ollie in particular is going to be doing more of the behind the scenes, legal assistant items and, open records, and Gladys will too. So we're shifting a lot of different duties around and, doing some retraining, but it's all really exciting. I'm gonna tell you, it was an exciting day on September 1 when these fresh faces walked in the door. Because we have just worn everybody out over the last 8, 9, 10 months with just 2, 3 people here and there. I mean, we couldn't go on anymore. You can only crack the whip so much. And, so.
You know,
we're really
I'll tell
excited.
you, to the new employees, everybody wants to be loved and wanted. There's nobody more loved and wanted than you 6 employees that are new to our agency.
That is very, very true. That is very, very true.
We hope that you're very happy here. It's a wonderful agency to work. We try the best that we can. We don't draw lines around work responsibilities. When something needs to be done, everyone pitches in to try to get it done. And it's one of the great advantages of a small agency. We're allowed to do that. So, welcome on behalf of the board. We're thrilled to death to have you here. And nobody could be more wanted than you guys here. So we're happy to have you.
And I tell you, The other customer service person that's coming on Monday, Gloria is really excited to see that person coming because that person's gonna be stationed right beside Gloria and she needs, some more help, so. we'll
She's
bring
already
her.
got 3 or 4 people in there doing 100,000 licenses. What does she expect?
I know, I don't know why she complained.
I know, I have to watch Gloria.
But we're really excited about all these changes and movements, and we also still have some posting out, and we're reevaluating the layout of a few other positions and duties right now, but we do have a posting out for an attorney, another attorney, which would be doing strictly pushing the enforcement cases through. So we're wanting to get that up and running. We also still have an investigator position and another, examiner position. So we're gonna and we've got a couple of other ones too, customer service here and there, and we're just doing some reevaluating now that we've got them and see how these duties get spread out and how the money goes and stuff. So still, it was a great day. It was a great month. The other thing I wanna mention about employees is we've been, like I said, we've been cracking the whip and doing everything we can, but Kevin's done a great job on our new website. And I know he's worked some nights and days, and I know he worked over the weekend because he and I were both online, just back and forth all day, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, this went on because I was testing stuff, plus I was looking at the new website. We were back and forth on the phone with Dawn. We had a whole lot of stuff going, so this was like a weekend long marathon, and Kevin got a lot done on the website and it looks really great. So if you haven't had a chance to look at the new website, be sure to do that. That's how it got there. There's a lot of that work, on Kevin. And not to skip around because I'm gonna talk about it more, but we put a lot of we've tested and brought up new things online and stuff like that. And we're filtering some of these duties out, but I'm gonna tell you, this stuff, a lot of stuff wouldn't get tested and in production if it wasn't for Dawn. And the same thing, I mean, the weekend before and the holiday, we're like all weekend long. And some of this stuff, the only way you can do it is when it's quiet. Nobody else is talking to you, because when you're starting it and we're both starting something at the same time, trying to make it work and see if every scenario that there could possibly be, you just can't do it with interruptions. So doing it from home or doing it here when no one else is here is the way we get it done. So, but with the addition of staff, the addition of a couple of new programs, Dawn kind of gets a break. I'm not promising anything, Dawn. But, so, a lot of things changing. People is the key, so.
You know, the one thing that Lisa and I were talking yesterday, I've always, when I first came here a couple of years ago, and I got to know Lisa and I got to know the organization a little better, I found that Lisa was doing a lot of the work herself, and I was a little bit critical of her. I said, Lisa, you're the executive director. You're not supposed to be handling licensing and this and that. But I've come to the conclusion, and I'll tell you this to the new employees, don't blow any smoke toward Lisa, because she's already done all of your jobs on her own. So there is a huge advantage to what she has done in the past 2 years, and it probably went on long before that. There's very little at this agency that Lisa has not done the job herself. So employees can't pull too much wool over her eyes about what can and can't be done. So she's a great source of a resource for you, and we're very appreciative of Lisa and thrilled about the new employees with Howard. And we've got, did you mention we've got one more examiner hired that's not yet here? Did you mention that?
No, I didn't, sir.
Would you?
Thank for reminding me. Yeah, and back to we just can't talk enough about people and employees. Yeah, my God, how could I forget? I know I've got one more opening I'm looking at, but yes, I do have one more person. And let me say this, Howard is gonna be stationed in Waco.
He
He's
lives
gonna
in Waco.
own Waco. He lives in Waco. He's gonna breathe and he's gonna eat at Waco. And the other one, which, will start on, October. He's coming on the 1st of October. We had to make some changes in his start date. So he will be stationed here. And, his name is Bart. So, and you'll get to meet him next time. But we're as excited about having him as we are about having Howard. And it just couldn't get any better than that. And we ought to be able to move some of these exams through that, so.
You know, with all that being said, when you look at the examiners, Howard, we're just now getting back up to where we were at one time. We lost two, if you recall, June and July examiners, and we're paying a price for it. Budgetary wise, we didn't have the money to replace them as well as pay their severance package when they left. So we're just now getting back up to where we were, and we were doing pretty good. So once we get Howard back to Waco and we get that operation up and rolling,
Yeah, it's
these
the relief.
these backlogs in far out dates for testing are sort of gonna start going away quickly. And hopefully by the first of the year, we will have that down to what we consider an acceptable
Oh, yeah.
number. So,
GW is walking around here still smiling every day. I mean, we haven't gotten the smile off of his face and that's all because of Howard, so.
you know, I think sometimes the public and the plumbers that are outside the agency don't understand the volume of work that comes through this agency with just 42 people. There is a huge volume of work coming through the agency, and I think our agency employees have done a great job, and gosh, with the new employees coming in, it's gonna give us some well-needed relief. And we're thrilled to have you. We cannot wait to get you up to Waco. You know, we've got $1 million facility sitting up there limping along.
Yeah, I heard.
And, we need to get it up and running and in full capacity up there as quick as we can do it, so. All these things are in place, and it looks, the future bright for us going forward.
It's sure getting there and we just couldn't be more excited. It takes time to get everybody up and running, but I got complete confidence in it and everyone that we've hired so far, so I'm really thrilled about it. And I was gonna say, yeah, I think there's not a job in this agency that I haven't done. I don't do major accounting. Now, I've had to pay bills before when I had no one in there whatsoever. I just had to do the best I could and I called everybody I knew on how to do it. But I still was late, but I have Kenneth, and Kenneth's never gonna blow any smoke anyway.
Well, look.
And that, yeah, and so I'm like, in some of the best shape we've been in a while. Really excited, but I'd love to give some of these other jobs away.
Get with it, start being the executive director.
Yeah, cool, man.
And to the employees that she's
Been a
pushing,
long
it's
2
because I'm
years.
pushing her to become an executive director and not a member of the staff, so.
I would
Blame me.
love to give them up. It seems like every time I give up a job and I go, man, I'm glad to get up, here it comes back again. It's like a boomerang. But this time, I think it's gonna stay with the person that I've chosen for it to go to. So I'm pretty happy.
And I'm gonna watch my P's and Q's, because the next thing you know, AJ's gonna be sitting up here in this chair. And I'm- So you really an incentive for me. I appreciate you sending me that picture, whoever did. Because I'm gonna stay on my P's and Q's and make sure that you don't get my seat. I'll work hard, AJ. I promise you I will.
We're glad to provide the motivation.
I think he changed chairs so that it wasn't actually your seat that he was sitting in. I think it was part of the one we in.
Oh, okay.
He
Well,
moved yours back, so.
okay, well,
He tried all of them and said, oh, this one.
this is,
They are extremely comfortable chairs.
oh, I'm glad you like them. I was wondering how you were feeling, if you were okay. So I'm glad to know that.
They've only been used about 6 times in a year and they're brand new.
We've got a few things that are new around.
If we're
here.
missing one, we'll know where to go look for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've got a few other things we hope to maybe replace around here. We just gotta count our pennies and make sure, but yeah, we have to get a few new things here. So, one of my other big items to talk about is, exams, of course. I don't know if you want me to go ahead and talk about those.
You know, we've been going a little while. Look, if it's okay with everyone, and since we're gonna try to finish up at 12:31, is okay, everyone okay with a break for about a 10-minute break? And then we'll pick it back up with item B on the self-scheduling exams and what have you. So it's, about 15 minutes till 11. Let's break until 5 minutes till 11. So,
Okay, so
Board members, we're about to start up again. If you could start your video, that would be great.
all right, I see Justin and Mr. Yelovich back on our screen, so it's 5 minutes to 11. Back to order again and turn it back over to Lisa. Pick up on item number B, opportunities for trade adjournment and med gas endorsement.
well, a lot of people are aware, some are still not aware, but one of the things that we have up and running is self-scheduling of practical exams. I'm gonna tell you, the weight that that's lifted off of us is tremendous. But anytime you turn something new on, it adds some weight to your daily plate anyway. But now, when an individual passes the written, let me back all the way up. When a person registers on Pearson, successfully passes the written examination, their grades come back over here, we approve and get that grade entered. Then what it does is it opens up, the exam results, and then it sends them another email. And when they get that email, this time the email says you can now schedule your practical exam. So they're gonna use their same account and their same entity number that they used to create their account at Pearson to do the written. They're gonna use that same account, go back into that account, and they're gonna select Austin, or they're gonna select Waco for an exam. If they wanna reschedule it because, for whatever reason, they can reschedule it as many times as they want on their own. There's currently openings for exams all the way through 2024. There's a lot of stuff open right now. There's not very many things open in Waco until we get Waco up and fully functional to have multiple exams in a day. Right now, there's only a few given in Waco. There'll be more, so if you're planning on going to Waco, if you're not in a real big hurry, wait a little bit, and you'll see some more dates come open in Waco. So far, it's working really, really good. We started out on last Saturday, and we sent 219 files out. And, by yesterday afternoon, there were, by today, we're right at about 100 that have actually scheduled their exam themselves.
So Lisa, when you say you sent about 200 something files out, these are people that have passed the written exam, they're ready to take their practical, and you notified them by email that you can now self-schedule.
Yep.
And of that 200, about 100 of them already self-scheduled themselves. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep. That is correct.
That's great.
And of that 100, I think there might have been 117 as of this morning, but, and there's 17 more working on it right now. The biggest problem that we're seeing is when they create their account in Pearson View, Pearson View's website and software doesn't force them to use their email address for their account name. So they could have named their account, you know, Super Plumber 2023. And it's totally different from their email address, so they've gotta be aware if they named their account something different than their email address, but I've been in it and I've tested it and I've done it in live production with a couple of plumbers too. It's very easy to reset your password, it's pretty easy to reset your name of your account. It works smoothly, but, you know, we expected phone calls. We had a meeting on Friday with all the staff, so that staff all had the same answers and could help direct people when they had problems. And so far, so good. I'm really proud of the 100 or so that have scheduled. They did pretty good.
And Lisa, as I understand it, when the applicant goes to the Pearson View website, calendar appears with
Correct.
dates, and you just select the date that's open. You just put your name in it and
And once you put your name in it, it has you confirm, that it's Austin, that this is the Austin address, that it's you and it's that date, and it tells you 2 to 3 times, you know, once you click on it and accept that that's what you have. And once it does that, it also sends you an email.
I was gonna ask you, they'll get an email response. Your test has been set for October the 20th in Austin.
And it goes to the email that they have on record. And the way Pearson has your email address, Pearson gets your email address initially from us in the initial file when you start out getting ready to test. So if you change your email address, or you wanna change your email address, be sure you get with us, especially if you're in the midst of setting up an account or scheduling your exam, or you haven't gotten your emails, it's probably because your address is wrong or you changed it.
And if they have difficulty in logging back on the Pearson View, their support is gonna come from Pearson View, not from the plumbing board. Is that correct?
Correct. The majority of their support is gonna come from Pearson View. However, they're no longer gonna be able to call Pearson View and have Pearson View set their exam up. Pearson View's gonna tell them, we'll help you get logged in and make you an account, but you've gotta pick your date yourself, and if you wanna reschedule, you gotta reschedule it yourself.
One interesting thing that's gonna be interesting to see, and Lisa and I and Dawn were talking about this last night, is the person selects a date, November the, whatever it is, 2 months out. We're gonna be interested to see if our no-show rate goes up or goes down, because once they set that date and they get a confirming email, they are not prompted again. Don't forget, you got a test next week, so.
How difficult would it be to set up a prompt 5 days out or a week out, reminding them? Is, I know how I behave, a reminder would be a really nice thing.
It actually
Me
will
too,
let
absolutely.
you put it on the calendar, on your calendar. If you choose to put it on your calendar and you're using Outlook, you can select that and it'll add it to your calendar, so.
And it will remind.
Yeah, that works. No, that works. That's as good as we can probably hope for.
Anything above and beyond that costs money.
Okay, understood.
So most likely we're probably, it's one of the things, yeah, we've all tossed around and thought about it, but it's a
Well,
dollar.
the nice thing is almost everybody that's sitting for that exam is going to be younger than me, so they're more used to dealing with that. Yeah, but, you know, even I can figure out how to get the Outlook calendar thing to start working on my phone. so.
Yeah. And they've done really good. I mean, just a few little glitches, a few questions, they've done really good. I mean, I really expected even more phone calls than we had. We had a lot. Monday was busy, Sunday was busy. I had the calls going to, what we use for scheduling cell phone. But even Monday was pretty heavy, but we're working through it. And we've currently got, out of the 215 that we sent over there, I've got another 160 that are about to go. So that's a lot of exams that we've got to get.
Lisa,
Yes, sir.
if I could ask you a couple questions on that. So, we had a backlog prior to that,
being available online. So the applicants that were backlogged, are they already plugged into that system?
There's a lot of people that are already scheduled in our existing system. So, one of the problems with going live, because we couldn't clean up one system and start another one fresh, is that you do have people that are already previously scheduled. And so if they're previously scheduled, it's not gonna let them reschedule because the file knows that they're scheduled somewhere.
Okay.
But what we currently have to do until we get everybody switched over, we have to run two different reports to see who's scheduled where. So it's a little bit confusing, but we think we've got a good system in place and we're double checking ourselves to make sure we don't miss anybody.
Do you still have that number that's dedicated cell phone for those that are having difficulty? Are you still utilizing it?
Yeah.
Would you say it again? So for the benefit of anybody that might be listening, if you have a problem having scheduling your test, this is a dedicated cell phone that's just for scheduling issues. I announced it at, the PHCC conference, to the employers if they haven't just passed it around, but it seems to be working pretty well.
It does. We were full on scheduling through the cell phone and that was working. That was giving Dawn and I the relief when we had no scheduler at all. You gotta remember, we've had no scheduler for almost a year, except for me and Dawn. And,
Well, I wouldn't say you didn't have a scheduler. I'd just say we had different schedulers.
yeah, well, that's different, yeah, well, that's for sure. But the cell number is 512-839-4230. And it's an easy way if you wanna send your name and your license or your apprentice number to that cell number. It lets us quickly look up who you are, and determine if you still need the email, is there a glitch with something or whatever. So,
You know, it basically isolates those specific questions to test scheduling. And
Yeah.
you don't get caught up in all the other hundreds of calls we get or emails we get
Yeah.
about everything in the world. So
and what it does too is if they're scheduling that they've got, or they're having trouble scheduling, it allows us, because it's probably some little strange thing with their file to where we can fix it and get them moved on through really, really quick that way.
Lisa, let me ask you a question in that regard. That has worked so well on your scheduling issue. Does it make sense for us to look at maybe a dedicated line for the most frequently asked inquiries we get? For instance, I've got a problem recording my continuing education. It may be publishing on our website. If you've got a problem on scheduling your test, call this number. If you got a problem. And that way, the people that are handling it, it would go directly to them. Is it, that make it have any merit?
It actually, on our contact us page, are you putting that up there? Contact us. The contact us is kind of individualized for certain types of departments and things that you need. But when we get AJ up and running, AJ will actually be what we call, and we previously called the person that was in that position, which hasn't been there in a while. That'll be the customer service liaison. So whenever it's a real intricate or specific problem, or they just can't get through, they're gonna go to him. And anybody that has online problems is gonna end up with AJ, and those are the people that not everybody's gonna be able to help. Because it involves
But
a file.
if we've got an issue that, for instance, my continuing education is not recorded on my site and I know I attended, rather than, there's nothing more frustrating to the plumbing industry or to the public in general is sending an email to a general mailbox. And it goes in with 200 or 300 that come in every day and it doesn't get paid attention to. So if we can dedicate a line for specific, not every problem, but those that we get the vast majority of them, it seemed like it would make some sense exploring that.
And in particular, CE is one of the positions that we're gonna be hiring for. And that line will go specific to a.
To that person.
Yeah, and that's a good example of CE, because my CE didn't upload, I don't know what I need. Something occurred, and so that will have a very dedicated line once we get that person up and running. But the other thing that we've done recently, and we can see where this is already helping, is it up there, Kevin? On our contact us page, previously, a lot of emails went to one or two or three boxes. But what we've done is we've streamlined them, and it's almost, we've throttled them into specific areas. And when I say we throttle them, it stops them and it makes them think before they send us an email. If you've got a license renewal, if you need a license verification, if you need, a CE issue or whatever, you
Insurance
select.
issue question.
Yeah, and they're required selections, and so your name and your license number is in there. If you have no license or registration, it tells you the 999s or something in there, and that, so when it comes through, you build the rules in your inbox. And everybody that has a license that needs any information is gonna go one way. So they're not lumped together.
That's something that we need to make a priority this year, because that is a complaint we get often, that our lack of response or slow response
Oh,
or no
yeah.
response. And I think it's a valid complaint that people make,
I agree.
and we have got to make that a priority for us this year to try to be more responsive to inquiries we get.
Yeah. And with some of these new people in dedicated positions, I think a lot of that you'll see a lot of changes to that. So it's there.
Hopefully, I've always said that a high phone volume or a high inquiries from emails is not the problem. The problem is people are uninformed. And hopefully with what Kevin has done with our website, and as soon as we get Ask Kevin up and running, it should directly address a lot of these inquiries that we're getting. They can answer their own questions, basically. And so the answer is not hiring a whole multitude of additional staff to answer the telephones. The answer is to try to get the information out to people so that they don't have to call to ask questions.
Yeah, and ultimately that is the goal. And hopefully, I won't step on your toes, Kevin, but the Ask Kevin, is.
I'll step on his toes. I don't know why it's not up there right now.
It's gonna
We got
be
discussion later.
available. It's still kind of in the beta mode right now, but we're actually about to upgrade the chat GPT that we've been building the Ask Kevin with. And when it's upgraded to this newer level, we believe we're gonna be able to feed it very more specific information. So when they go search for, where's the form for my insurance, that it's gonna get it really quick. And they'll go they'll search for whatever it is that they're looking for, and then there's the answer.
So I think you're absolutely on the right track. But I do think that we need to be conscious as an agency. That is a legitimate complaint we get.
Oh,
from
it
farmers and the
absolutely
public,
is.
is our lack of response time. But, you do what you can do with 42 employees with 102,000 licenses. Everybody's got a question.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we don't need to work toward trying to resolve it.
Yeah,
It's a big problem, but we gotta fix it.
we'd like nothing better for that to be resolved, but I really think with the things that we have in place, the things that we have planned, including the chat GPT, and just the streamlining of the questions that come in. If you can get a question that comes in that says, I look myself up, I don't see my CE, and you already know what the license number is, bam, you can look them up, see what the problem is, fix it, respond back, and you're done. Now, if John E. Smith sends you an email, that's good. It narrows John E. Smith down to the guy that has a middle initial of E. But we really need that license number, or that registration number, because I promise you that we have more than one John E. Smith. we have John Edward, we have John Edgar. I know that for a fact. So it's those little things that make it faster whenever the question comes in, if we already have that
It
information.
speeds up our response time. We can respond, but I have to ask them, now, which one are you and what's your address and all that. kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So,
And you don't wanna just say, you don't wanna, it's tempting to respond back and go, who are you? And there's times we have to, because we can't always remember every John E. Smith or Ron Smith. You know, we can't always remember who they are, and not everybody's gonna know everybody, so it does expedite the response. So, we're gonna get there, I guarantee you.
Board members, I apologize, for kind of getting into the weeds on this. But it's systemic of a larger problem. It's a big problem for the board, and that's response time. And I think we have to get into the detail of this and view it in terms of it's a larger issue. And I'm pleased to see the staff is conscious of it, you're aware of it, you're working on it. And we just need to get there as quickly as we can. It'll never be fast enough.
No,
Talking to a person, oh, there's nothing more frustrating to me to send an email that, number one, I don't know if anybody got it. Number two, I don't know if they threw it in the trash, or I don't know if they're responding to it, but you're sitting there waiting on a question for weeks and weeks or months and months, and nobody responds. You send another one. There's nothing in the world more
Yeah.
frustrating or make you angry than that.
yeah, I agree,
So,
I agree. Hopefully, all the things we put in place will make life better for everybody, I think it will.
Lisa, if you don't, I had two parts of that question. Just
Okay.
the second part was, and I know we're blessed to be having the new examiner show up. What is the current, because we field those calls ourselves as a board member.
Sure.
What is our current timeline for a guy that's passed the written, waiting for the practical? What's a minimum wait time for that guy? If we get a.
Where do you have
we
openings?
call us.
how quickly do you have openings to take?
If they wanted a journeyman or a tradesman, right now, they're probably gonna be October, November,
Okay, that's pretty quick.
easy.
Not really.
October's pretty full, but you're looking at, but it may sound quick, but what you're looking at is all the ones that have been building up that we haven't been able to get.
Yes, ma'am.
So you've got June, July, August, and not all of them, I'm just saying, there's people that have either canceled, rescheduled, we've had to move, or, you know, and I'll be the first one to tell you, and then we had a glitch where we had some that got stuck. And so we had to go drag all those up and go, golly, we gotta get these in here in a hurry. The other thing we've had is a multitude of requests for masters. And that's our next big jump, is to get the master online, which will turn that around faster, which will free up the examiners and get more examiners, and your turnaround will be faster and faster. But overall, we sat down and we're looking, you know, if a person sent their application in and the application was complete and could be processed, all the parts were there, your training was there, you paid for it, it came in, online. I mean, we can turn that thing around in a week. We pull those reports are constantly running and we're pulling them up. And you click on it, you review everything, you approve it. It's gonna send them out an email in the next 3 days, so you're looking at 7, 8, 9, 10. And they get that email, they can go in there and schedule their written exam as soon as the next day. But we get people all the time that call and say, I sent my application 3 months ago, I hadn't heard from anybody. We can actually look in our system and see that the email went to them, and the email was called authorization to test. And either it went to their spam, they overlooked it, they never looked at it, and they haven't scheduled their exam, and they've been sitting there for 2 months. And, you know, they could have been there 2 months ago, And by now, they would be up into that category where they probably, in that 2-month period, could have been testing for the practical. But remember, it's not even gonna let you schedule a practical if you haven't passed the written. So turnaround time for the whole ordeal, you could be licensed if you sent in a complete perfected application. You could technically be licensed in probably 8 weeks. You know, I would say.
Lisa, how are you gonna handle the, we're limping in Waco right now because of lack of personnel, but once you get Howard up and trained and up in Waco and you open up new positions are gonna open up on the website for scheduling. And how will that be handled? Just for when they open up? The second question is, someone cancels and I'm scheduled to take a test 2 weeks from now, but something came up and I'm not gonna be able to make the test, so I take my name off the list. What does one do to fill that spot?
The next person that's sitting there watching for something to open.
So it's first come, first served.
And grab it, it's first come, first served.
Okay.
But because we have people scheduled in both systems right now, and we have some other people that we know wanna go to Waco, we'll manually schedule some of those in Waco to clear out some of the
Okay.
backlog. Because we don't want them we don't want them to go pick stuff. We've got select days that we've got planned of when we wanna put journeyman, when we wanna put tradesmen. And as we start feeding them to Howard and to Ben, we'll put them in there.
Right now, board members' bottleneck is our physical doing the practical exams. And
There's no doubt about it.
we knew it, we talked about it at the last board meeting because of our personnel issues, we had to slow down and consequently, we've got a backlog of people. But I am confident, just like, if you remember, we had a backlog on the written exam until we converted over
Yeah.
to computer-based testing.
Sure did.
And we did that in May, and by the end of August, we have tested over 1,800 people in 2 or 3 months. So I anticipate, once we get up full speed on Austin and Waco, fully staffed, that backlog of those waiting to take that practical are also gonna diminish quickly. Once we get up and
Journeyman,
going
how many can you do in this facility in a day?
We do 12 to 15, depending upon how many examiners I have.
in the type of test.
And then masters?
Masters, we can do, we can do 20 masters at a time, but soon it won't matter because the masters
It'll
are
be
gonna go to written.
You're right.
But we have had such a demand for masters that we've taken some days and put some rather large groups. We've done some large groups in Waco, we've done some here. Just because of the demand. And we couldn't leave them sitting and give all the practicals to get caught up. But whenever we first turned on the written, we were watching too, to kind of see, were we ever gonna be on top of that written and how we were gonna get there? And had we stayed fully staffed, I think we were getting
I
close.
do too. We were
You
really,
sat and calculated and
We did.
GW
Yeah.
and we were sitting here looking at it going, if we could just do this, we could get there. But without that staff.
we fell behind and we knew it. We
We
talked
knew it.
about it last meeting and
Yeah.
But as soon as we get back up and rolling, we get all those slots open, the next step, and Lisa and I have talked about this, is to figure out a way and revise our practical exam where we've got the ability to do 2 batches per day per location. That's gonna mean putting a time limit on taking their practical examination, but we should, as a goal, look at having a group that starts at 8 o'clock and they're done by noon, and a group that starts at 1 o'clock and done by 5. Right now, they're given an unlimited time to do it. And some of them will be out of there by 12 or 1 o'clock, and others are hanging around with 3 or 4 to finish their test. So the next thing that Lisa and GW and her staff are gonna look at is what can we do to that practical exam, start running, and boy, when we do that, we're gonna have openings galore. So.
Yeah,
But everyone has been extremely nice and patient with us. But we're gonna get there and it's, it's gonna, it will, we're working towards something that's gonna be so easy and so quick that people are not gonna believe it. We're already done a lot.
You know, we've done averages on how long does it take the average person to do this section? How long does it take them to do the house? How long does it take them to do this project in the shop? Trying to come up with the best time on getting it done. And, you know, they've gotten to where they do have a little more time and a little bit more relaxed atmosphere. But once we put the time crunch on them, it's not unlike when you're out on the job. You
It
got
is.
a little bit of time crunch.
Yeah, you're about that, you're on the clock when you're out there.
Because that sheet rocker's coming right behind you. You know, that mason's sitting there ready to cover your stuff, and so.
So I hope at some
It's
point,
gonna come to it.
I can't put a date on it, but Lisa is agreeable to doing it, and I know GW is working on it. Some of these days, we're gonna have 2 batches go through every testing center in one day. And that's in and of itself gonna double our capacity. It's already double with Waco once we get up fully staffed. But when we get 2 groups coming in both locations, that's gonna quadruple that capacity, so.
And the other thing is that if they only need one part, and they're able to, what we've been trying to do is we put some of the one parters and mix them in with some masters. And we've done that just in the last couple of weeks, and we also did it whenever we had Ben come down here. You know, just experimenting, so it's a little more difficult when you mix different types of exams, but when we get to where we can do tradesman, you know, whenever you get in that zone, you're doing all tradesmen, all masters, it'll eventually work.
You've referenced it a few times, so do we have a rollout date on the masters going computer-based yet?
I'm not gonna stick my neck back out, but I tell you what, now, once I get GW freed up, once I have Dawn freed back up, the marathon testing of everything and putting it all online, testing the files and doing all that stuff, that has to all happen again with the master. But the contents are there, the naming of a lot of the files and the practice of the transmittal, a lot of the parts are there. We've got to sit down and do the refined part. I'd like to have it up in November.
Hey, what let's do, just for fun, why don't we just say Lisa will report that it's done by the next board meeting? How
Yeah,
about that?
well, yeah, because we're having a board meeting next month.
Are we?
Well, I don't know, probably.
It'll be the end of the month.
It's getting close.
We gotta have a target, cause
I
I know
I
you
know.
want it worse than anybody.
I want it worse than anything, but right now I've got so many plates spinning in the air.
I know.
I gotta get all these that we've got going which ways, that way, and then that's the next big focus, because we want that thing up and running.
Okay, well, it's gonna be up and close. It's gonna be very close to our next board meeting. If not by.
So we're not having one till
it'll be very
November,
close.
that's good.
Well, it'll be the end of October.
And they won't get enough by the end of October.
Don't say that.
And we're
There's
trying.
nothing in the world that can't be done. It's just people that don't know how to do it.
I understand that, Frank, I deal with that every day.
Go ahead. Don't let me get you sidetracked. Go ahead.
But yeah, we want it. And actually, since we've had, this last week, since we've had Howard here, we've been able to pull GW out a little bit and go, okay, GW, we need to look at this section, we need to look at this section. And so he was like, oh my gosh, I get to actually look at something that we're building and work on it. So the want to is there, and I really think, well, I might surprise you. Well, I'll try.
You won't surprise me because I anticipated.
Well, I understand, but we're all believing we're gonna be so happy when it's done and over with. The other thing we wanna talk about is we're having what we used to call our annual continuing education conference. And that was kind of a train the trainer setup. And years ago, when we only had a few continuing education instructors, we actually would have it here. But it got to be bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where we had to have it on 2 days because the groups were too big. And then it got to where we had to have 3 days, and then it just got too doggone big and it's a distraction, so we don't do it here, we do it in another location. And what that is every education provider, regardless of what kind of education that they do, we bring their instructors in, and we just tell them everything in the world, there's no question that they can't ask. We give them, an updated version of the PowerPoint with highlighted rules, all the things that we wish we could give directly to the plumbers. We give them to the continuing education providers in order for them to share it in their classes. And they love it. I know they're anticipating having a really good time and learning a lot of stuff. We're having at the end of October, October 27th. And we're actually gonna have it in Waco because we're going to use their gym. And it's enough room for us to have 150 people in at one time. It's gonna be a lot of people, a lot of going on. Of course, we'll eat lunch together. I'll have field investigators there from every area. I'm gonna have examiners there. We're inviting the TSTC educators. We're also inviting some of the other, educators for the schools. And we call them educators versus instructors. It just keeps it straight in our mind and our system. So we've got a lot of people that can share a lot of information that we're inviting to this big event. And we'd love to have maybe a couple of more vendors come, whoever wants to come.
You couldn't keep me from coming.
Well, we want you there, Frank, but I was kind of hinting that maybe a couple sitting up there might want to come. Bill?
Or looking over your shoulder behind you back here.
Yeah, yeah, so, oh, Justin, surely you want to come, Justin.
October 22nd.
So we're excited about that. We haven't been able to, it's old news, but the pandemic put a stop to it. Then finances put a stop to it. Then everyone's schedule just put a stop to it. And it's like we're gonna be back on track and have this big open house, access to all of us and answer every question that we can answer, provide information. And Kevin is putting together this really nice PowerPoint that's gonna have a lot of good info in it. We used to build one every year and give it to them, and so we're gonna go back to doing that. And they can modify it, reuse it, distribute it, whatever. There's nothing gonna stop them from that, so. Right now, I think we've probably got about 140. So, but let me know if you're coming.
Don't skip the Mega Med gas.
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So, and the day before this big, education event, we're gonna have a Mega Med gas. And because I've got new examiners, and because I am anticipating getting as much of the med gas practical exam as I can moved to Waco in that new testing center, we're going to do as many practical exams on the 26th, the day before the education event. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna give me time and GW time with new examiners. We're gonna test the test. We're gonna be doing this all in anticipation of the big med gas day. And, we can run, 10 through there an hour, or in an hour and a half. So I'd like to get at least 50 or so people signed up for that day. And anybody that wants to sign up for that, if they want to call that cell phone number that you said earlier, they can call that cell number. We have them blocked out in our system. But we don't have them where they can self-schedule those because it's gonna be on a time situation. We're gonna do an every hour and a half kind of setup.
How many stations do you have? You give that med gas test? Is it 12?
there's actually 11 up there, there's 12 total. The 11th one, you don't usually put anybody in case you have a downtime or a breakdown or a situation or whatever, and you always have the extra one up there. But
So
there's
basically
12
11.
here, yeah, but we'll run 10 an hour up there. There's 10 up there, 12 here,
So that's for the net gas exam.
Yeah.
You have to do 50 the day before though.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
and we'll see, we're gonna run all the apps that are, anybody that's put any kind of med gas app in, try to process the app. If it's missing something, we're gonna call them. And then we're gonna send them an email and say, hey, do you wanna come to this event? And see how it works. It's gonna give us a chance to use Waco. It's gonna give us a chance to see just how hard we can run that on med gas too.
We might have to get a parking attendant up there.
And the reason why we wanna see just how hard we can run that is we have a newer, better ventilation system.
Yes, you do.
And up there, and that's why we're still give some med gas here, but it'll be much easier to give mass quantities up there.
When we built that facility up there, that was one of the delays of opening that facility. Is they've got the latest and greatest, exhaust system up there that really keeps it pristine. When these make it.
Yeah, when we do 20 a day back here, it's tough, and we gotta open the doors, and during the heat, it's hard to do 20 of them. I mean, everybody's used to the heat, but then it just sucks out the rest of the building, so. We're kinda excited about it, so it's an experiment in itself. So anybody that wants to come to that, call me.
Call that number.
Yeah, call that
Call
number.
Lisa, she's busy.
Let's hear from them, let's get them in here, if you've got a group, I've got one person that said they thought he might have a group that wanted to come 4 or 5. And so that'll be great. So we'll see how all that rolls out, no guarantees, and we've tried doing some large groups before, we tried some mega masters and like, I don't know, I think we had 30. We were hoping for 50, but we'll see how it all pans out. Anyhow, fingerprints, boy, oh boy. We've passed the 50% mark. We're about 58%, somewhere in that area right now. I expect to pass the 60% mark pretty soon. Remember, we've got to get all our fingerprints done by 2025. So I don't really see a problem in fulfilling that. People have been really good about going and doing it. And we get calls about it. Oh, do plumbers have to have fingerprints? How do I know if my plumber has fingerprints? Well, it's right there on the webpage.
Lisa, I've said this before, and it's an area of frustration to me. I try not to do it, but sometimes I'll look at social media. I tell you,
Don't do it.
someone asked the question, what's this business about fingerprinting? And then we had like 50 answers saying, well, you don't have to get your fingerprints if you already got your license, and that's only for out-of-state people. Some of the worst, most atrocious information you can get is on social media. Yeah, I would really caution plumbers from getting your information on social media. Do your homework, go to the website, talk to the agency, but don't get it off social media.
Yeah.
I mean, of 50 responses, I'll guarantee you 70% of them were incorrect. I'm not sure they ever got the right.
And
But the answer to that question is no test, no renewal, no new application without fingerprint, period.
no
Regardless,
apprentice.
apprentices, tradesmen, everyone.
Yeah.
If you have business with this agency as far as taking a test, getting a renewal or getting a new license, there are no exceptions. Fingerprints are required now.
And they shouldn't feel picked on. The
It's
engineering,
statewide.
the engineering community has had, have had their fingerprints done for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it makes them look more professional. I've been impressed with how well everybody's jumped up and did it.
For the most part, it has been
Uh,
pretty good, yeah.
Our biggest problem now is getting over the hurdle of the apprentices. That's the big myth that was out there floating around. If you're an apprentice, you don't need them. Well, if you're an apprentice, you're gonna become a licensee, so you might as well get them now, and plus, you're required to now.
And the good news is you only have to get them once. Once in your
In most
tenure,
cases.
yeah. Once you get it, we have a service that if you have a hit down the road with a felony, it's reported to us. We take whatever action deemed appropriate. But it's a one-time deal, and that's a good point, Bill. It's not just for plumbers. It's for any occupational license in Texas is
That's
now
correct.
required to get fingerprints.
Yeah.
Doctors, all of them, so.
Nurses, everybody.
Yeah.
I think even geoscientists have to do it now. Therapy started there. There's a lot of. So, but, and we started ours early,
Yeah,
and
you
so,
were doing it when I got here.
yeah, everybody kind of had to follow us and learn how it all worked, but we put it together, made it work, got a good system in place. It's the training in order to look at those files is extensive. It takes a week or so to get someone trained just to learn the FBI and DPS rules that it takes to look at those files. So, getting those people up and running, and then it becomes tedious and you have to do it and take a break. You know, you can't do it 8 hours a day without a little break in between looking at all that stuff, looking at files, looking at crimes, looking at license files. It's a whole process to do the review.
You know, Lisa, I tell you, I've thought about this fingerprinting and the process. That's a good model for doing anything at the agency or for anyone else. You guys did that correctly. You've got a goal and you've got an end date.
Mhm.
And that's clearly stated. You've got personnel in place and a process to do it. But more importantly, you've got a system set up that you can monitor your progress.
Mhm.
So anything we try to do, we should try to model it after that. We know what we want to do and we know when we want it done. We know the personnel that are going to do it, and then we've got a system set up that you can tell us we're 30% complete, 40% complete, 50% complete. It's a good system that's worked well. I know it's been a lot of work.
And it's that way with most everything, in particular veterans, whenever we started doing veterans in our system, and before the rules came out, even for veterans, the fee waivers and all that stuff. You know, we built a deal to tag military, tag veterans, and as soon as we did, I told Dawn, I said, we're gonna do this, somebody's gonna say, how many veterans do you have in your population?
Yeah.
Bam, we got it, and that's the stuff that we have to have, and we have to have something in place to be able to handle it. I mean, there's so much. But fingerprints was no small little deal to get up.
And it's
there.
still not,
No, it's
it's
not.
still.
And Gladys, some of those will come off of Ollie. But Gladys and, Ashley are able to do them. Kathy looks at the ones that have it, you know, we have a double check. So if you got a really bad, something that really needs to be all dug out and ferreted out, Kathy's gonna look at those. And then the ones that have nothing, that are gonna be exams, those are gonna be able, Chelsea's gonna be eventually able to do some of those, so. A lot of moving parts, I must say. We had a little bit of a Versa, a database update here and there too. I don't think, I did wanna say a little bit about that Versa update, and it's kind of tied to fingerprints, but it is public information, the plumber's address. If you don't want, if you're a company, an RMP, and the address that we have on file for you is your house, and you want to make that private now, you can. There were changes in the law that protected personal information from public display for all license types. And so one of the changes that we're dealing with in our database, Versa, it's a community of 7 other agencies just in our little group. There's a way to protect their information, make it private information now. And they can actually see that private information button inside their online account. But the majority of RMPs use a business address, and so a business address is not a protected address. But if you're one of those that works out of your house and you use your home address, that can be protected. All of you'll see on the free license list, the downloadable list that we've always offered the public and a lot of people used for mailing lists. Yeah, that was a big thing for a lot of years. It cost us a lot of time and money to run those lists, and eventually, whenever we were able to put them out just for a public view and a download, it made it a whole lot easier. We didn't have to print them out, we didn't have to burn them on a disc or whatever the method of transfer was back in the day. But now, when you look up the public list of all the journeymans, you'll see it only has the county in which they reside or which they told us that they reside in. Their address, the telephone number's not there anymore. So you'll no longer, and the plumbers are gonna like this, get a lot of the mail outs that you get constantly, which are job advertisements, and, you know, continuing education, all that stuff. And
So we're removing all of the addresses, not just the ones who indicated they don't want theirs removed.
that's right. The option to have your address private for the masters is in Versa. And we're also gonna be sending out, an email blast to try to get the masters to look more closely at what they have. If they want a PO box, we can put a PO box. So we've still got some work to do as far as reaching out to the responsible master plumbers, but the other ones are removed at this point. We just removed those. So. And there too, that was a lot of back and forth and group discussion about who used what kind of addresses. I mean, plumbers have their addresses look a little differently and were unprotected compared to, you know, a doctor's address has been protected for a long time, so. But address is gone, telephone number's gone. Yeah, and we've never given personal emails out. We never offered those. They were protected before, but they're definitely protected now. However, same situation occurs on an RMP. If a person asks for a copy of your insurance certificate, it's gonna have an email address on it. And it's going to be assumed that that's business because it's asking you for business information. It's XYZ Plumbing, XYZ Plumbing's email, so on and so forth. So if you included personal stuff, you should tell us and let's get anything that's personal off there. We don't always know. But if you put it on something like an insurance certificate, if you put it on your invoices, then that's public information. So, little work to be done on that. My other item is, we sure do have a whole lot of licensees right now. Whew. I wanted to talk about numbers of licensees. We've got there again, and this keeps going up and up. And, inspectors, we've got 1,677. That's the most inspectors that we have had in a zillion years.
I don't think you've ever had that.
Never. And we have a tremendous demand for, exams for inspectors right now. The cities, they're just blowing and going, and they're like, how fast can we get in? So, and we try to work with the cities, we try to do, if they need to do a group of 2 or 3, we'll get a group that, you know, they just hired 3 people. And they're desperate to get them all done at the same time, and so we do our magic and try to put them in here, get them out, get them in, get them out. RMPs, I kept saying the RMPs were just out of control, and they really are, I mean, my God. 8,526 or 8,525, that's that many certificates of insurance we handle too. 8,520, 8,525. But I was kind of watching it, and I mean, it's just blossomed, of course, in the last few years. But I think we might have reached a plateau. We'll see. We'll see if this is true or not. We may have reached a plateau on those that want to do the RP and go in business. Because, you know, it'll jump way up, and then some people go, that grass is not so green over here. I'm working, you know, 25 hours a day. Maybe I don't want to do this. So we'll see. But it's still a very, very large number. Our tradesmen continue to maintain the tradesmen at 3122. Remember, those tradesmen, it's as quick as they can move to that journeyman, they do it. And now, if you're a tradesman, you've already taken the shop, you've already done everything. You can turn right around and move to that tradesman once you get those hours. It's pretty quick. You take the written, file comes in, pops open your results, we approve it, you go in, pay for your initial license, there is no going back or waiting. Oh, med gas endorsements. Still have all of those, fire sprinkler. I'll tell you the other thing that came up this last go around that I found interesting was the drain cleaner registrations, 994. Drain cleaner restricted registration and the residential utility installers. Now, the restricted one, bear in mind, those are the ones that are gonna go out and clean the drain during the food opening. The drain cleaner registration, they're gonna be able to cut an opening in and put a clean out if they need to. And those are gonna require more hours. The RUI requires the hours, so those are gonna be people that are 2 years. In most cases, they're 2-year apprentices. So that's their first step out to unsupervised work, so to speak. And the master's gonna know that they're doing right or wrong, and whether or not they're gonna keep them. But a lot of people have been getting those endorsements, so that's a good thing. That ladder is there and the ladder is working. And as soon as they've already got their hours in there, they turn around, they get some more hours, they're ready for the tradesmen, so on and so forth. So, working pretty good. Warm bodies were at 75,794. And, total licenses we handle, 102,389. Over 100,000 we're handling. And we kind of broke that down based on 5 customer service people and playing around with the numbers, and we do this periodically, not like we don't have anything to do, but we wonder whenever we're doing performance measures and how many people we have work and how many customer service people. We're still handling, I promise you, there's at least 45 people that you help per person around here per day. Might be a phone call, might be an email, might just be printing a card. You know, there's something that you do with about 45 people a day. Just playing around.
That's just in license.
That's just the license, yeah, not counting any exams or, you know, that may be a license, an application, an approval, a card, an insurance, something. Every day.
Some of them take 20 minutes to resolve, and some of them take 30 seconds.
That's
But it's
true.
45 per day, those licensed
Yeah.
people on average, right?
Yeah.
Per person.
And I guarantee you Gloria will confirm that.
No, I know.
She feels that, Gloria will tell you, I probably talk to 100 people a day. But as we get it spread out, and when we're doing this and we're looking at how many, you know, how many phone calls you get, how many people, how many licenses went out, it also helps us figure out where do we need to spread these other new duties too, so. But Gloria's just come Monday, there's gonna be that person sitting right beside Glory right now. AJ's sitting there, but he's going to the front Monday probably. He's going to Wolves on Monday. So Glory's gonna get another person that's gonna be actually staying beside her.
I thought this was his office.
Well, he tested it. He tested it, so. A lot going on. Any questions I can answer?
Board members, any questions, of staff on any subject? at this point?
Anything?
Lisa, I'm couldn't be more pleased with where we're going and the direction we're headed. I guess we're gonna do finance. Are you done?
I'm done.
And if you're ready,
No, sir, I'm not,
get ready. You got-
exhausted for that.
You got 30 seconds.
I know, it's exhausting, but otherwise they have to call me and I have to repeat this 9 times, so this is whenever I get to tell them everything that's going on.
Okay, good morning, Kenneth Biddle, Director of Financial Operations for the Texas State Board of Planning Examiners. So if you'll look at the agency budget, that is kind of my final projection for the FY 2023 budget. I want to break this down for you a little bit. Overall, my total money available this finding was about $3,080,000. About, of that, we transferred approximately $150,000 over to HPC. That left me a nice net balance of about $2,923,559 that you see on the sheet, in the bottom section of that budget. Of that, of my total available funds that we received in 2023, part of it was UV, unexpended balance transfer for vehicles and some IT stuff. At the end of the day, my fluctuation in this budget is gonna be based on utilities and where they come in, based on my projections. But we're gonna leave nothing on the table that I could have spent. My total lapse for FY 2023 was $15,424 that we didn't spend in vehicle money we got as part of the supplemental appropriation last time. We tried everything we could do to get that money spent. We tried to ask the legislature, the LBV, governor's office for using that money for something else. Didn't get that authority back, returned to us. So that's money that in June lapsed and we couldn't spend it on anything. And then my remaining estimated budget right now, $21,405 of conference and seminar money that's kind of UV or carried forward into FY 24 for us to use for this conference that the executive director was talking about a minute ago. And the amount of money I have in there, I have one plug number in there, and that's the amount of money I'm projecting to expend on board member travel reimbursements. That's where my money's gonna go between now and the end of the year. If I have any available money, that's also where I'm gonna take anything out of if my utilities or anything comes in higher than what I projected it to. So we're gonna spend everything we have.
That's a good news, bad news thing.
Now for the bad news part of that. We finished FY 2023, August 31st, we had 31 employees on hand, head count on board out of 41. So we spent our money in other areas besides staff last year. We're authorized 51 now. My others, we got in the middle of a real push trying to get people onboarded and new people hired. But that was some of the strain we're talking about is we were down 25% of our available staffing in FY 23 at the end of the year.
And I pointed this out at the last board meeting, and I want to do it again today, so there's no misunderstanding. Us basically running, and we didn't run out of money, but we bumped right up against the rail on it, is really my fault, not the staff's. It's not overspending on the staff's part. If you go back and analyze our budget, we were set up and budgeted to run one testing center when we went into this biennium. And I pushed and shoved and insisted that we open the Waco Center, which added about 50 grand, $50,000 or $60,000 to our expenses that we had not anticipated. And that's on me, that's not on the staff. But my thought was we needed to have something in place that when we went into this legislative session, we had something we could show them that we had done and not just promise what we were gonna do. So it's on me, we ran out of money, it's not on the staff. They were watching their nickels and dimes. It was me that was pushing and shoving to get the Waco open and get some people up there staffing it. start doing some testing, so.
to clarify what the chair said, we didn't run out of money.
Yeah, we didn't run out of it,
We had a few pennies left.
but I won't take just a few pennies. But the good news is, I don't like to end up with a huge amount of money get swept into the general fund and we don't get any benefit. So we used every nickel.
I usually like to have breathing room to give back just a little bit.
Yeah, not quite this close, but
$100, yeah.
And then the other part of this report, if you look at the exams that were done, not the exam statistics, but the license statistics, this is the money report. Our final collected revenues for licenses and professional fees was $4,815,000. I think in my FY 2024 budget, I projected $4,850,000. So we hit about $35,000. And the statistics on the types of licenses and exams we're given breaks that money down into what types of licenses and exams were given to make up that $4,815,000. With a year-over-year comparison, so you see the growth rates of the different types of licenses and different types of exams. And then there's a miscellaneous section there too. And finally, what I'm gonna report on now is the upcoming reports, because after August 31st, from the time the General Appropriations Act is released in June until about December 31st, finance and accounting and purchasing departments are running. Starts off with putting budgets and caps and use as procurements. You notice we have our old antiquated machine over here. So we just procured a brand new machine with our new money that's sitting in our copy room. So my staff, Tyler Longnecker and Alex Burrell, have been working diligently trying to get this stuff ordered, new old stuff out the door. We're working on getting exam supplies ordered, and it all relates to starting that budget out and getting all the budget uploaded in the systems. Now then, upcoming reports. Like I said, busy. Annual financial report in October. The annual historically underutilized business report, we do in October. Operating budget, we do in December to the governor's office in LBD. Procurement plan is due to the Comptroller of Public Accounts in November. Report on non-financial data is due to the Comptroller on December 1st. We just finished the annual SAO FTE report, which is the numbers I gave you, 31 head count and 30.74 was our actual FTE count as of August 31st. And then we've got all the miscellaneous other little reports that are coming up between now and the end of the year based on fiscal year 2023. You've got your performance measure, you've got your ABAS USAS reconciliation. There's a lot of stuff going on in finance between now and December 31st.
questions for Kenneth? Thank you, Kenneth. We appreciate what you did.
Thank you.
Anything else for Lisa? I think we're winding down on this. Where's the public comment? Lisa, do you have something else?
I have one little thing I forgot to tell you.
Sure.
It's exhausting.
Well, I'm done with my part.
Yeah. Is that, well, it's just because I'm proud of the plumbers, I want to make sure everybody hears this, is that our, percentage of renewals online, we're at 92% of people doing their renewals online. I mean, could you imagine if we had to physically touch every one of those pieces of paper with the double amount of licensees that we have? But what's really gone up since last time was the initials. Once they've figured out to do the app online, schedule the exam and do all that stuff, they're coming back and paying the initial fee online. And that way the license gets out the door more quickly and gets up on the public side more quickly. And that's at about 81%. So that's still really good.
You know, and Bill hit the nail on the head a while ago. A lot of this increased online participation has to do with this younger generation of plumbers coming in. These apprentices and tradesmen, they're accustomed to doing everything online. They're
But
not
if
like
they
these
don't
old
want-
fossils like me.
Yeah. But if they want to go the paper route, we still have that. We still have old school if they need it.
But don't do it unless you have to.
Don't do it unless you have to.
And then I wanted to add one thing. So after December, I know you guys are all gearing up because starting in January, we start the whole strategic plan, legislative appropriation request, all that fun stuff we just went through 2 years ago.
Starts again in January. We're getting ready for the next session.
We're ready. All right, anything else, staff or board for the staff? Public comment. Do we have any online? And while you're checking that, Mr. McMillan has been sitting here very patiently since the beginning of the meeting. So I know you're here for public comment. Mr. McMillan, would you like to step forward and?
You want me out there?
Yeah, if you would, step out here so the cameras can pick you up. Thank you for being so patient for waiting for us.
I'm a 66-year-old senior citizen who's been defrauded of over $8,000 by a licensed master plumber in Austin, Texas. I reported this egregious fraud to the Texas Board of Plumbing Examiners, and the case was assigned number 2022-00953. The plumber's name is Daniel Lawless, master's plumber's license 37341. His company is Daniel's Plumbing, 8204 North Lamar Boulevard, Austin, Texas. Although the course of events is rather involved, here are a few things, most flagrant things Mr. Lawless and his subordinates did to me. Sent an unlicensed person who posed as a plumber to my house to solicit my business. Misrepresented the cost.
Just for a second, I'm gonna do Paul.
Mr. Lawless's enforcement action has not had a final determination by the board.
Okay, let me handle that. And we have had this discussion about, let me finish, then I'm gonna let you finish. This could be considered an ex parte communication since the other party's not here. And we have let Mr. McMillan understand that, but he wishes to go forward with it. So with that being said, why don't you finish?
Thank you. Although the course of events is rather involved, here are a few of the most flagrant things Mr. Lawless and his subordinates did to me. Sent an unlicensed person who posed as a plumber to my house to solicit my business. Misrepresented the cost of installing an appliance by over $5,000 so as to inflate his fee. Charged me for installing a valve that his employee did not install. Knowingly charged me for a construction permit when one was not required. Obtained payment from a third-party finance company by fraud. Refused to honor a cancellation notice in accordance with the Texas Business and Commerce Code that I delivered to his office within 72 hours after I discovered I had been defrauded, and then he lied to the TSBPE that he did not receive it. Refused upon proper request to communicate with the TSBPE and or its investigation. When I reported Mr. Lawless's unethical and unlawful conduct to the TSBPE in early 22, this case was assigned to an investigator who, from the notes in his file, did not even interview Mr. Lawless or his staff. This investigator neither consulted with me nor informed me when he concluded his so-called investigation. A subsequent investigator failed to communicate at all, and I was relegated to dealing with the agency's general counsel for any information. I filed a Texas Public Information Act request on June 27th, 2023, the last board meeting here, to receive the contents of the TSBPE file. As of the date of this letter, September 14th, 2023, I have not received anything nor any reason for their non-compliance with the law. The TSBPE should protect the Texas consumer from unscrupulous and unethical people such as Mr. Lawless. Instead, they have granted him a license to steal without any repercussions. What possible good is this agency to the consumer of this state? Why do you allow it to exist? I would appreciate an answer. Signed, Fred McMillan.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Appreciate your comment.
Is there a client recovery fund?
This is not a discussion. It's a public comment.
Is there a client recovery fund?
We'll talk to you after the meeting, Mr. McMillan.
No response.
Anyone else on public comment? No other public comment. Board members, anything further? The one question that I have for Lynn, we have outstanding the posting having to do with direct supervision. Some people have made comment on the first one. Does those comments carry forward? I would suspect since we substantially modified that proposal, they need to provide additional testimony what they think of the new proposal that's currently posted.
Sure, going back to the earlier discussed agenda item, that rule proposal is a new rule proposal posted in the Texas Register. The qualifying language was added in the last meeting. If they want to offer comment, they need to offer comment anew. So, we will not be carrying forward the last comments from the last rule proposal. This is a new rule proposal. They need to bring their comments forward now if they want to comment on this rule proposal that was posted in the register on September 9th.
Okay. So if you have comments concerning the new proposal, and I should add, and this goes back to your agenda item having to do with the rules. So much of the modification we made were as a result of the comments that were received on the first rule posting. So we modified it to a great extent to try to accommodate some of the comments that were made. But with that being said, we have a new rule posting, and as I would encourage those, read the new rule. Don't be making comments on the one that's was done previously. Read the new rule that's posted and make your comments accordingly, but you do need to make new, so.
And we'll package those up for y'all's consideration at the next agenda board consideration of that rule.
Okay. Agenda items for the next meeting. We'll see where we are on this rule posting in relationship to when we have our next meeting. I would suspect it's gonna be late October, early November for our next meeting. So we'll see how our rule postings would go. And if the rules, I guess they will have been posted for 30 days for that.
Yes,
Late October, when is it?
I'll have to calculate it, but it's posted on the 29th, September 9th, I believe.
Okay, so 30 days and then it should be the posting period. So we may be ready to bring that back on the agenda at the next board meeting. The other item that we will put on there will be our town hall schedule, a proposed schedule for the board to take a look at, and maybe even an outline of what those town halls might look like. The third thing is that I want to put on there that I had asked to be done this time and it wasn't done, was Lynn to give us a report on collections, on turning over our past due uncollected amount to some kind of collection agency. And we had this discussion at the last board meeting. And I agree with you that collecting anything is not gonna, don't expect too much out of it. But even with that being said, a report next time of what we might need to do in order to put these out for collections. Board members, what else would you be interested in? I would suspect that we'll have a full enforcement agenda the next time. Steve will have all of our enforcement cases the next time to consider.
Yeah, normally we run, this is the month we do all of our reports and performance measures and stuff,
So
so
that will be on our
everything
agenda
for year end will be.
for the staff. And whatever else, if there's something else that we've not mentioned today that you would like on an agenda or be considered to go on an agenda, if you'll just let Lynn know, she'll remind me when we do the final agenda. I don't have anything else. Anyone else? Dave or Justin, anything before we adjourn?
I'm good. I miss pizza time.
Well, I know it. We really appreciate your taking the time to go online. I know both of you are busy and doing other things, and we really appreciate your tuning in for us because we needed you for a quorum today to get business done. So thank you very much for taking the time to do that. If there's no further business, then let's call the meeting as adjourned.
Bye, guys. Thanks.